No, Aaron. He only comes to church part-time, you know. So, we gave a little homework assignment. I remember the homework assignment. What was the homework assignment? Somebody yell it out to me.
2.5 tribes.
2.5 tribes.
Right. What happened to 2.5 tribes that decided they was going to camp and remain on the east side of the Jordan River? Remember that? And we talked about that, and I said I'm going to ask you some questions when we get back to this. Now, I said last night Sunday, and Sunday Heather, because she's always concerned about me. Okay, concerned because of me, but she said you're not going to do that tonight, right? You did mean Wednesday, and I said yes, Wednesday. But she's we was going to have a repeat of last inspiration, you know. And but so what it boils down to is this. We're going to hit it again tonight. And I told Miss Joanne Sunday, she said, so what happened? I said, I'm telling you tonight. She said, I won't be here. So you all have to tell her, Miss Joyce, tomorrow. You tell her, all right? And tell her what she missed, or tell her she has to stay on herself. Don't give her the answer. And but we have here's the thing about it. We got those 2.5 tribes that camped on the east side, remained there. What were the names of those tribes? Somebody tell me those tribes. Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. All right. So we got these 2.5 tribes that remain on the east side of the Jordan. Now, for sake of time, we don't have time to go through everything, but I said to you last week, tell me what you find in Scripture pertaining to them. We talk about the children of Israel. Most of the Old Testaments talk about the children of Israel. Right? I mean, they're in the Canaan land. They're in the Promised Land. Most of the Old Testament's talking about them after they've already crossed over to Jordan. So, that being said, somebody lift your hands so we have an order about it. Tell me something that you found out about these 2.5 tribes from this point forward. All right?
That Moses never talked to God about it.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right.
You don't find much.
There you go. All right.
The Judges reference one.
That's exactly right. There's a reference in Judges.
And then their names.
You get a few names from the tribe, but that's right. There's not. Every time you have a name you'll say from the tribe of, but that's literally, you don't find much about them. Anybody else discover that? Anybody discover that? I mean, did anybody come across some big, huge reference or any big chapter, portion of a chapter that you found pertaining to these people? All right.
I found something just on Google that said.
So did Austin.
That said something along the lines of there's a tribe or a group of people that are claiming heritage way back to Manasseh, and that they have been accepted back into what have you, but they have to be, follow all the Jewish laws and.
Yeah, they're still vetting them.
There you go.
Right. Okay. All right. So all right.
And they were the first ones taken captive.
Oh, that's like the Assyrians, wasn't it?
There you
Yeah.
go. All righty. So you make my job easy. All right. BJ, you asked me a question.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out about the cattle, where they got the cattle. I was kind of afraid yet. And not in Genesis, yeah, they brought all that with them when they went out of Egypt.
There you go. So she had asked me a question Thursday morning, and I was excited when I got several of you asked me questions throughout the last week, and I like that. And you were just poking and prodding. I didn't realize she had texted me. I was so busy, I didn't realize she had texted me till later today, and then she had texted me twice. One of them was a question, the other was the answer. She said, never mind, I've already found it, So she was asking, where did the cattle come from? Did they bring them with them out of Egypt, or did they get them along the way? And basically what it is, they brought them with them. All right? So anybody else have anything?
Preacher.
Yes, sir.
Well, in Matthew, they described the descendants where Jesus went over and he took all the demons out of the one guy and threw them into the pigs, and they ended up being pig farmers.
All right, so the maniac Gadara there. Okay. Austin?
You look at the current country of Israel, those tribes are not part, where the tribes were are no longer part of Israel.
Right. That's exactly right. Here's what it boils down to. Remember, I said I'm going to give you a little tester to get you started. Remember that? You know what a test they you walk through the perfume outlet and they you come out there smelling like everything, and they have them all on the counter there. You can test all the, I don't know why you want to test 40 at a time, but nevertheless. So the tester was, we imagine this would be the Jordan River, and we find out that they did agree with Moses. They petitioned Moses, Moses listened to them, and then Moses agreed. All right? And Moses did agree that, okay, we'll let you remain as long as you go and fight with us. The men go and fight. They said, we'll build up cities and walled cities. We'll put our women and children there. We'll fence our cattle in. And we will. We'll go and fight with you. And they did. Matter of fact, they kind of led the way, in all honesty. All right? So they honored their agreement with Moses. But we don't find Moses, remember we talked about this, was it just Monday night we talked about this? We talked about this some other time.
No, Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. Moses, when they came to Moses, you can't find Moses then going to God and saying, is this okay with you? Every other time you do. They wanted water. Remember, they came to Moses, griping, complaining. Moses goes to God. God gives them water, right? They come to Moses, they want food. Let's go back to Egypt. They got food over there. Moses goes to God. God gives them food, right? And over and over again, they come to griping, mumbling. Moses goes to God. God answers it. This time, they go to Moses, and Moses just talks and negotiates with them. So they remain there. Here's the thing about it. When they do that, they find themselves, they're going to inherit this land, and their reason is we have much cattle, and this is a good place for cattle, and besides that, God's already conquered this area. He's already given us peace in this area. Okay. How many of you ever had peace in an area of your life, later not have peace in an area of your life? Just because there's something that happens right now and God gives you victory in that area right there, that doesn't mean God wants you to remain there. He wants you to go and follow Him more. But remember, the land of promise is a land of faith. They have to live there by faith. They had to grow their faith through the 40 years of wandering because those without faith had to die off. So they entered the land by faith. They crossed the Jordan River by faith. And notice in chapter, look at Joshua chapter 22 real quickly. And we'll look here at just a couple of real quick verses and kind of rehearse what we talked about last Wednesday night since Aaron wasn't here. And Joshua chapter 22. Look at verse 10 with me. The Bible says, and when they came into the borders of Jordan, that they are the land of Canaan, the children of Reuben and the children of Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh, built there an altar by Jordan, a great altar to see. All right? Now here, altar to see to, okay? And here's the thing about it. Remember when they got ready to cross over, one of the last things, they were instructed to build an altar on the other side for the generations to come. We talked about that, I think, last Sunday or Wednesday sometime. About their generations to come would ask, what meaneth this? And they built this altar so you can tell them, this is where God gave us the victory, brought us into the land of Canaan, the promised land. We talked about the land of promise being a land that would represent a victorious Christian life. Hit the pause button on what I'm saying because I want to say this. Last Wednesday night as we left here, someone pulled me aside in the parking lot and said, I need to ask you a question. And I said, sure. They said, I'm not fully sure that I understand what a victorious Christian life is. And I said, I'm glad you asked that question. Because maybe others don't either. And sometimes we get to using phrases that we talk about a lot, we use all, and we forget that not everybody's been in the whole conversation. They came in the middle of the conversation later. See what I mean? How many of you want the air conditioner to be turned off? I know Miss Julene does. I mean, she never wanted it on in the first place, all right? And then Miss Linda, she's right there alongside of her. I just know, so I don't know why it's still running. It seems to be comfortable in here, doesn't it? And no, it's still hot. So sorry, Miss Linda. Somebody want her a jacket, all right? And but the point being, I said that's a great question, and I kind of took some time. I said, but I'm going to talk about this again to everybody. Here's what it boils down to: the Jordan River, when they crossed the Jordan River, entered the Promised Land, the Canaan land, whatever you want to call it. That would represent a victorious Christian life. In other words, it's a life that you have to live by faith. They're going to live it by faith, not by force. They didn't conquer, what was that first battle? The walls of what came tumbling down? Jericho. So they moved over in there, and remember, they didn't go in with swords and hammers to tear the walls down and swords. No. What did they go in there with? They went in there with faith, right? They just marched around the city obedient to God, right? 7 days, 7 times on the 7th day, and the walls fell flat, and they were able to walk in without climbing the debris, and they fell flat to the ground, and they walked in, and God gave them the victory, and they were told not to take any of the spoils, to destroy them. The only ones that would be saved would be who? What was one that lived in Jericho that was spared in all of her household? Rahab. All right. So Rahab and all of her household will be spared because she placed her faith, because she believed in God, right, by faith. So therefore, she's in the land of promise by faith. She's living there by faith. So therefore, she gets to live because she's living by faith. She's taken her Savior by faith. Her family has believed as well. So the scarlet cords hung out the window. They come to her door. The same two spies that she had saved her life knock on her door in the middle of this destroying of this city and say, come on, you and all your household. Only the ones that had the faith to come and join her in the house was saved. Think about that. I got such over here. There are 2 doors down. No. From the beginning, when we come back, those in your household. Here's what it boils down to. We're not going to get a chance to change our mind and trust Christ when the trumpet of God sounds. When the 7-year tribulation begins, if we've rejected Christ, we've made our choice.
That's right, amen.
Now here's the thing about it. We see all of this happening in the Old Testament for our learning to understand the New Testament. So we see this taking place, and we see these things happening. And now we see these things happening, and the city's destroyed, and God gives them, and yet we had one person who disobeyed. Remember? A little gold, a wedge of silver, a wedge of gold, a little silver, and a Babylonian garment. What was that guy's name? Achan. He created a lot of pain. Good way to remember his name. Achan. And what happened to Achan? He and all of his household, his cattle, and all his belongings were stoned by all of Israel. A great heap of stones, the Bible says. It wasn't just, okay, let's throw him till he's not moving. No. A great heap of stones was up over them when they were finished. So I don't know how many, does that mean how many of Israel? I don't know if it was only the leaders of all of Israel, which would be thousands, or if it was literally all of Israel. The Bible uses the word all, I'm just going to believe that, all right? So I'm just going to explain it that way. But nevertheless, Achan died because he disobeyed. But wait a minute, we don't find Achan dying until what happens? They go to another battle. What's the name of that city they go to? Ai. What happens at Ai? They said, that's not that big of a city. Look how easy it was to conquer. Listen, they go up there without faith. They went up there with pride, arrogance, and without faith. And that's exactly right, Brother Jack. They got whooped. What happened? 36 men didn't come back.
That's right.
36 women were widows. 36 homes were without a father. 36 sets of parents were without a son because they didn't do it by faith. So they come back and Joshua's going forward. What's going on? We don't understand. You promised us this. And he says there's sin in the camp. And the lot fell upon Achan. And it was revealed. They went to his tent. There they found the gold, the silver, and the Babylonian garment. And they said, he doesn't say, what have you done to us? No. How is it that you disobeyed the Lord? You've caused God's curse upon us because of your disobedience to the Lord.
That's right, amen.
And therefore, and you know this did not make Joshua happy, by the way. No, I mean, what I'm saying, it didn't Joshua say, all right, boys, get them and let's stone them. Oh, can you imagine the broken heart of Joshua? I mean, this was someone he knew. This is a family that he knew. But he had to do the right thing. He had to do the right thing. Even when it wasn't the popular thing, it has to be the right thing. And Achan, because God says the sin has to be out of the camp. When sin's in the camp, there's going to be lives lost. So we have to get sin out. So him and all his household, I was going to say, his wife's never mentioned, I don't know why. I don't know if she didn't come with them across the Jordan. I don't know if she just not mentioned for another reason, but it's Achan and his children and all of his household and his belongings, and it was all killed, destroyed. Here's the thing about it. So now they go back up to Ai with God's permission, with sin being dealt with, and God gives them the victory. But they didn't go up there with arrogance and pride. They went up there with more men and more faith. That's the first time I just took a few men. Oh, we don't need that many men. It's not that big. It's not a superpower. But this time they took more men and more faith, and God gave the victory. Here's the thing: we live our life on the edge, victorious Christian life. I simply said to this person in the parking lot, I said, victorious Christian life is, first of all, it's an obedient life. When God says, do this, we do that. And we say, God, give me the victory so that I can do that. That's why it's a victorious life. And when God says, don't do this, we say, Lord, you're going to have to help me not to do that. And He gives us the victory to help us not do that. But a victorious Christian life is a life lived by faith. Because we realize we can't do it ourselves. We can't do it and we can't not do it ourselves. Because this flesh likes to attach itself to things that are sinful. This flesh likes to attach itself to things of this world. And therefore, this flesh is weak. And that's why the Bible says, he that is in me is stronger than he that is in the world. Because I have to ask Him, and Lord, you're going to have to help me stop this smoking. You're going to have to help me this habit. I've been doing it too long, and I wish I'd have never started. Lord, I can't stop. I've tried over and over again. Lord, you're going to help me stop smoking. And when we really mean business, and God knows we mean business, and He says, okay, if you're going to stop smoking, then quit buying them. Throw the ones that's in your pocket in the garbage. And He may, whatever, everybody's going to do, but, do this. And if you're really mean business, and He says, all right, don't put yourself in an environment to be tempted to do it now. Don't find yourself alone with people that are smoking. So that's hard to do. We make it sound harder than it really is. We just take somebody else with us sometimes. See what I mean? Lord, help me stop these drugs. So we've educated ourselves so much on this stuff now that we think that it can't be done. These drugs are so chemically designed that they attach themselves to the molecules of our body, and therefore the body will always have that craving. I'm not saying it's not scientifically true, but God is the one that supersedes science.
Amen. Amen.
You see what I mean? We can educate ourselves to the point that we lose faith. A victorious Christian life is a life lived by faith.
That's right. Amen.
And we obey God because we mean business for God. And whether He says, do this or don't do this, we do it because, Lord, I want you to use me. And Lord, I don't want to be done doing this because it displeases you. Because here's what it boils down to. We'll not get victory over anything until we realize it breaks the heart of God. When it breaks our heart, to break the heart of God is when we ask God to give us help. Until then, what's the point of having help? Well, I know God's not happy, but, in other words, our heart's not broken. Someone may say, oh, well, I don't know what God thinks about this, but, in other words, they know what God thinks about it.
Amen.
They're just denying it.
That's right.
You see what I mean? Until our heart is broken, that we have broken the heart of God, then we won't ask for God. We won't ask Him for help. Until that happens, we won't get victory. A victorious Christian life is an obedient life because we realize disobedience breaks God's heart. And we don't want to break God's heart. So therefore, we're going to find everything and do everything that we can with God's help to find ourselves obedient. 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 He that knoweth, notice this, James 4 says, he that knoweth to do good. Not just know good. Do good.
Amen.
And do it not in sin. To in sin. So we find ourselves victoriously living our victorious Christian life. We find ourselves living in the land of promise because we got there by faith. They crossed the Jordan River because God said, here's how you're going to get through this Jordan River, because it's God purposely brought them to the Jordan River in a time of flooding. You believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the time of drought.
That's right. Amen.
The time of flooding. He says, here's how you're going to cross the Jordan River. You see that land over there? That's your land. That you're not there yet. Here's how you're going to get. Priest, pick up the ark. Walk into the river. Not good advice, practically.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Walk in, and when the last foot of the last priest steps in the water, he'll stop the flow. It took some faith. You know what? If the priest didn't have the faith, Israel wasn't going to have the faith. Because they wasn't ever going to get to the land that God promised.
Took big faith.
That's exactly right. When the spiritual leaders had the faith, then the followers could apply the same faith and learn by the same faith.
Amen.
Can I remind you something really? This people of this church, not just this church, can I be a little partial tonight? We should be the spiritual leaders of this community.
Amen. That's right.
They should see our faith.
That's right.
And when they see us doing something for the glory of God, they in turn can learn to live by faith.
Amen.
Because the children of Israel was just all on the east side until the priest stepped in. All right, Austin? Was there something else you were going to say besides what you said a minute ago about the tribes?
Just that those one tribes are part of Israel.
All right, okay. So they're not, their land that they stayed on is not part of the land now. All righty? I thought there was something else you were going to say. Sorry about that. But the point is this, that in church Christian life, we have to live it by faith. We can't live it by force or it's not victory.
That's right.
If you're still fighting, you don't have the victory. Right? Faith brings the victory. Faith is a victory. You know, we sing it, do we believe it? Because if we're still fighting, then we're not victorious yet. Last night, when Bob hit the last ball, won the last game, and it was all over done, we got ready to tear down. I had my phone hooked to the phone sound system. I pulled up YouTube, and I'm on the winning side, and I hit play. Because it was all done. No more chance to lose any more games that night because it was the last game and Bob had just won it. You see what I mean? Here's the thing about it. Our life, if we're living it by force, we're not living in victory. I know that's deep. Because if we're still forcing our way through, then where's the victory? But I just can't, then we've not won. I know our whole life is going to be a fight with the flesh. I know that. The prince and power of the air. I know that. The devil, the demonic forces. I know that. But our life as a child of God can be a victorious. We can enjoy living the life He's given us.
Amen. That's right.
We can enjoy living it. But it's going to take faith to do it. Because everybody around us is doing it by force. And we get the habit of doing it the same way they do it. All right, back to our story. We find them. They said they came to the borders of Jordan. Notice that word borders real quickly. When they came to the borders of Jordan, that on the land of Canaan, the children of Reuben and Gad and half tribe of Manasseh, they built an altar by Jordan, a great altar to see to. So this altar is going to be built. It's going to be remembered. Wait a minute, we're not done yet. Look, if you will, over to verse 26 of the same chapter, Joshua chapter 22. The Bible says, verse 26, therefore we said, let us now prepare to build us an altar. So they built the altar on the other side. It's going to help them be there to remind. But wait a minute. Now they are saying, let us build us an altar. Say, wait a minute, what's this altar for? We're going to hurry, but look at verse 34. Well, let's finish verse 26. Let's build us an altar, therefore let's prepare to build us an altar, not for burnt offering, nor for sacrifice. You say, well, then what's the altar for? Look at verse 34. And the children of Reuben, children of Gad, called the altar Ed. That just means a place in the desert, okay? For it shall be a witness between us and the Lord is God. So what this altar was built there for, they built this altar to remind future generation that we did not fight. We're not separated because we fought. We agreed to separate. I mean, I didn't read it. Between verse 26 and verse 34, that's what you're going to find, right? This altar was built not for burnt offerings, not for sacrifices. It was built so there could be a monument that would remain to always show that we did not fight as long as we separated. We agreed to separate. All right, we understand that? Here's my point. So they built an altar. We talked about this tonight. That altar is not the same altar. We talked about this Monday night, maybe. The Holy of Holies, the Ark of the Covenant, the presence of God is going to be on the west side of Jordan. Not on the east side of Jordan. The Ark is going across because that's what's going to part the waters. It symbolizes the presence of God. The Ark is going across. You say, well, God's everywhere. I agree. But do you long for His presence? I mean, personal presence? Like with you presence? You can go anywhere in the world and call upon God at any time and He'll hear you. There's nowhere you can't find Him. But that's not what I'm talking about. Do you long for Him to be involved in your life? They needed His involvement. And they just said, why don't you take the presence of God and we're going to remain here. Now notice this real quick. If you will, turn back to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to wrap this up here in about 3 minutes. Look at Exodus chapter 12. You've already answered the questions. I'm just making the application. Exodus chapter 12, look at verse 32. Exodus chapter 12, verse 32. Also take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. I have written down the wrong reference. That's not what I was looking for. Where have I went wrong? I went wrong a lot of times, where I went wrong. All right. Here's what it boils down to. Okay, let's just do this. Go back to Joshua again. I'll give you one last reference there, and then we'll make the application, all right? Look at Joshua chapter 22, and the verse we've not looked at yet. Joshua chapter 22, I'll get there in a minute, my fingers are not working. Verse 25. The Lord hath made Jordan, notice this, a border between us and you. Ye children of Reuben and children of Gad, ye have no part, notice this, in the Lord. So shall your children make our children cease from fearing the Lord. Now this is what they're discussing. This is why we're going to agree to build this other altar. To show they didn't fight to divide. They was choosing to divide. But I'm not pointing out the argument, I'm pointing out the statement. Verse 10 says, and when they came to the border, look at verse 25, or verse 24, verse 25, for the Lord hath made Jordan a border. Remember how we talked about the children of Israel, the Red Sea, God brought them out of Egypt, and He said, I'm going to open the Red Sea so you get out of the world. And I'm never going to let you go back into the world easy. If you go back into the world, it's going to cost you something, because I'm not going to open the Red Sea again. I don't want you going backwards. I want you going forward. And when we come to Jordan, they declare, God hath made the Jordan a border. In other words, there's where God wants us. But we're pretty comfortable here. And we're gonna live on the edge. We're just not going to cross over. And you've already answered the questions. They pretty much just fall off the pages of Scripture.
That's it. Amen.
They pretty much just fall off the pages of Scripture from this point forward. Can I say this real quickly? Is that what you want your grandchildren to say about you? I mean, do you really want to have an impact and an influence? Or do you just want to be comfortable now? What I said earlier, remember how they had to make a choice? You say, you made a bunch of random things. No, they're all together. Remember how Josh had to make a decision to do the right thing even when it was tough? You know why? Because there was a lot of families that's going to cross the Jordan that's depending on him to make the right decision.
That's right.
They just crossed the Jordan. They're supposed to be going forward by faith. And he has to make the right decision or he's misleading them.
That's right. Amen.
In our community, in our families, in our homes, in our lives, even when it's tough, we have to make the right choice. We don't have to be mean and arrogant and nasty about it, because that would be sin in the camp. Pride. And that's where destruction comes. That was what happened today. We don't need many people up there. Look how easy it was down here. Let's just take a few. And some of them didn't come back. Let's not take the sin into the camp. But the point is, we have to live our life by faith. And we have to make the right choice and make the right decision and do the right thing, even when it's not the popular thing. Chief and I were talking today about some things, and you know this. I would encourage you to pray for Chief Jeff Heaton, our fire chief. He's under attack by a specific local force, and yet that's not it's all 6 times they brought allegations, and all 6 times they've been debunked. But they just won't quit. They just won't quit. You remember what the Bible says about the devil being the prince and the power of the air? Remember about what the devil says about he not his prince, but he works in the high places, and he works in principalities and powers. How many of you believe that the devil actually puts people in position and lets them play roles of leadership sometimes to mislead? Yeah, literally. So Chief's had to make some tough decisions. He's only been there 3 years, 3 or 4 years, and he's had to fire some people because it wasn't right. What was going on? When he got there, the equipment was out of certification. It hadn't been certified in years. It was still functioning. We're okay. He had to spend a bunch of money to bring out certification. Because the reality is, if something failed, if a hose burst while he was fighting the fire and somebody died, and they found a hose out of certification, they're liable. So much money was spent. It's not because he inherited it, but he had to do what was right, even when it wasn't popular. See, you think he's the icing on the cake? No, I'm just saying I believe that God put him in that role because this town needed that. He's a Christian man. The event last night was a Christian event. You say, what do you mean by that? He was going to allow Bob, if we could have got the crowds, to preach. He said, I don't want any strings held. I want the name of Jesus mentioned. The people had the haunted house. He put restrictions on what they could and couldn't do. I mean, he's trying. If you walk in the hallway of the park right now, they got a flag now, pallet wood, and right in the middle of it, they got this flag that he laid down his life for a friend. You know, he had no better friend than one laid down his life for another. He got that verse right in the middle of the hallway. I mean, he's not perfect. He's just like the rest of us. But I believe he's trying to do the right thing. He's coming under attack. They've moved their board meetings. They've always been on Wednesday. I can never go. They've moved their board meetings starting this month to the second Monday of every month. You don't have to go with me if you want to. That'd be great. So what's that make it, the 13th or something like that? I'm going to go to the board meeting. And the public can use the microphone. And I'm going to use the microphone. You know why? Because if all this crying out loud is the only ones that get the airwaves, then guess what? We lose prayer in school. We redefine marriage. Right? And those of us sitting back and do nothing, that want the right thing done, but we don't do anything about it. So I'm just going to go and take the microphone. You get 90 seconds. You're going to want to come just to see that, aren't you? And you get 90 seconds. And I'm just going to say, listen, he allowed our church to come in and partner with the fire department and bring a guy in. And he allowed us to be a part of influencing and impacting this community. They've been in some of your homes and put up smoke alarms and changed batteries because they don't want you on ladders. They want to do it for you, and they send you a bill next month, right? No. It's just handled. Before he was chief, the trucks never left the property unless it was a call. There was no involvement in the community. Hey, I'm saying, they're in the school 6 times a week, training and teaching on safety. Water bays 3 days a week, feeding the kids lunch because their parents are working. They give them lunch every day. They give them somewhere safe to be. They started the event on Halloween night to keep the kids off the dark streets of Arizona City. Not to go to the name for the fire department, to keep safe. Not one person was injured last night. 1,760 people come through that line. Not one person injured. So here's my point. We should be the influence of the community. Spiritual leadership. If we don't lead by faith, then who's leading? This is only praise be to God. But you got my 3 minutes are up. But here's the thing. You know what's happening in this community? This church, no praise to us. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Praise be to God. This church, not the largest church in town, not the wealthiest church in town, but this church has been the most involved church in this town. Every year they ask me from the chamber, are y'all going to be in the parade again? Are you going to have a booth again? Every year. We want y'all to be there. We offered to have a chamber luncheon a few years ago, 5 years ago probably. No church had ever offered to have the chamber in to have a luncheon. We was the first one. They came back to us and said, that's the greatest luncheon we've ever had. Now other churches are doing it, and I'm thankful for that. But my point is, you're being involved in the community. I'm thankful for that. Let me tell you how much involved it is. When Chief came to town and wanted to start this thing, he called me and said, I hear your church has a community event on Halloween night. I said, we do. We want to invite them in, get them off the streets, give them somewhere to be, and it's an alternative to the Devil's Night. He said, do you mind if we have one too? He didn't know us anything, but somebody had influenced somebody that influenced the chief. I don't know who it was. I don't know who he heard it from. But evidently somebody, because he called us and got our permission to start what was part of last night. You see what I mean? We got to continue to do that. We got to walk by faith. Don't drop off the pages of history. Not because we're building a name for self. Listen, if nobody ever remembers my name, your name, that is great, wonderful, and who cares anyway? but the influence of Christ. The impact that we've had by living by faith and not forcing our way through life, but by faithing our way through life. And God gives the victory. 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 I'm going to be honest with you. And watch this. I would much rather have a fire chief that wants to partner with the church
Amen.
than don't want the church to come on the property.
Amen.
I'd much rather him say, today, he offered me this a month ago. I said, no way. He said, a month ago, he said, can I, he said, the fire department will have a budget for this. He said, but can I give you like half of the cost to bring him out here out of my pocket? And I said, no way. This morning we were closing up some things and took a light plant back and doing some little things. And he said to me, I said in his office, he said, can I give you like half, can I pay for his ticket out here, at least his ticket? And I said, no way. Here's the thing about it. You say, why didn't you take it? Why do we need to? We've been knowing he's coming for months. We've been preparing for this for months. And what does that say? We came wanting nothing. We came and was part of that last night and left taking nothing, only giving. That's a testimony.
That's right.
Because very few people ever do that. When David Corn was here back in February, and I got in all three of the schools, not me, but Lord let us get in all three of the schools, 3 times in this one, 2 times in Toltec, once at Picacho, plus the Christian school. First question every principal asked when I met with them, first question, what's this going to cost us? I said, because you know why? We're 47th in teacher salary among 50 states. We're 48th in educational rankings. You know why they asked that question? Because if it costs even $10, they don't have it. And I simply said, it will cost nothing. We just want an opportunity to come in and impact the kids. And they said, come on.
Amen.
When we go into the world, because let me remind you, so Arizona City Days, our little slogan for Arizona City Days that we have at our table, people say, what's all this cost? We give away Bibles and water and tracts and candies and give away tons of stuff. What's this cost? What's this cost? It's all free. So it's just like salvation, somebody else has already paid for it. It's all free. The water next door costs $3. Well, ours is free because it's somebody else has already paid for it, just like your salvation. You don't have to buy it. Here's what happens. When we go somewhere and we say, Christ paid it all, then why are we asking for a handout?
That's right. Amen.
Let's quit using the church for a charity. Let's start doing it for the glory of God.
Amen.
Because if we don't, we're just going to drop off the pages of history. And we don't want that. We want to make an impact and make a difference for the glory of God. Lord, we come tonight, I thank you for what you've done. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Lord, for the privilege of having God's Word that we can have and hold and read and study and learn from. Lord, we ask you now to be with us and guide us. Lord, I thank you for every person here. For those that were able to come out last night, Lord, and give, and for those that couldn't come but they prayed and supported. Lord, for the outreaches that we've done into our community thus far, and for the opportunities we've had to impact lives, and for the witness that these people have amongst their friends and peers, Lord, I ask you to help us continue to that and even do more of that. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for paying for our salvation. Lord, help us not to take that lightly or ever forget about that, Lord. And because you've paid it all, Lord, help us to take that message to everyone that we get an opportunity to. Help us to give of ourselves because of you gave to us. We thank you, Lord, again for the opportunity to be in your house again, the country we live in, the freedoms we enjoy. Let us now use these privileges for your glory in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.